friends, I'm Erin, and this is Erin Go Live. What day is it? It's April 6th. It's Sunday evening. I'm about to just kind of like settle down, relax for the evening, stop doing any sort of work. And I'm actually going to start with a TEDx talk. So I actually just listened to this while I was doing some meal prep, but I'm going to sit down and really listen to it and take it in. So this was TEDx Folsom, which I had the honor of getting to be a part of, getting to be a head volunteer for. And I actually know this speaker, Kim Stevens. She's a local psychologist. It's funny because I'm trying to say this and I can't say it. We have both been through the same speaking course called Women Speak, taught by the amazing Jen Oliver. And we weren't in the same class together, but she was like ahead of me and I know her through it. She's about my age and she's just an incredible person, and like me, had struggled with feeling feelings. And you may have heard me talk about it before, but there was a time after my husband died where I literally Googled, what do feelings feel like? And that's kind of what she goes into in this TED Talk. So it's a TEDx talk. It's about 15 minutes long or so. I'm going to link it down below because I think everybody should watch this. If you are a human, if you've ever had a feeling, especially if you've ever struggled with feelings and emotions, I definitely think that you should give this a watch and pay attention to Kim. Follow her on Instagram. I'll link all of her deets down below. I'm going to really dig into this and let myself feel it. All right, it's Tuesday, about 10:45 a.m. I've trained a couple clients already. I've already read a good bit of East of Eden this morning. I've got a little bit of work to do, but mostly all I'm thinking about is how much my body hates me right now. Just, if you've ever had back pain, you know, like, basically it's so frustrating because I have hypermobile joints, which just basically means my ligaments and tendons are too stretchy in my body, and it causes me to get injured all the time. And what's happening is the pelvis, so there's like the two big, like, they're called the iliums, the two big like ear looking things, right, in your pelvis, and then your sacrum is here and they attach. So where the sacrum and the iliums attach, that joint is called the SI joint, and that's really loose. So what happens is the iliums rotate and then the sacrum rotates too, and so like all of that is jacked up, and then there's this muscle that kind of runs between the top of those iliums up to the low back called the QL. Those are freaking pissed, and just, it's like every day it's a slightly different flavor of pain. It feels a little bit different. Something different hurts. And it's definitely better than it was before. I'm like sleeping relatively comfortably at this point. Only waking up occasionally, not like constantly throughout the night, but just everything hurts. Just walking, moving around, sitting in the car, like getting into the car is one of the most painful things I do at this point. Sorry, my dog is needing some love and attention. So I'm like trying to train clients, and I'm like, yeah, can you pick that up? I'm like, I'm going to show you without weight, and then you're going to do it with the weight. Okay. Yeah. So anyway, I'm going to finish up a few minutes of work, get back to reading, and I've got the heating pad on right now. So I'm going to do the heating pad for about 20 minutes so that I can get on the floor and do some like stretching and exercises and try to mobilize some stuff a little bit, see if I can get a little bit more mobility. Then I will ice after that and just try to get myself to feel better. My mom has her appointment today. She has this like treatment that she gets about 20 minutes away. She can't drive for it. So what I do is I drop her off, go to a coffee shop nearby. I'll work from there. I think I have 4 calls, and then pick her up. And then what do I have going on this afternoon? Oh yeah, I have a VIP call. So I'm basically going to do an online training, and then I have 2 in-person clients to train this afternoon. So a pretty busy day. Basically starting at 12 o'clock. I'm basically from 12 to 6. I'm busy, but I have a little time right now. Finish up a little bit of work, and then I'm just gonna enjoy some reading as well as hopefully some back mobilization. So it's very early. It's a Wednesday at like 4:25, and Stevie just had another seizure. So woke up to, I'm not even sure what woke me up. I imagine it was the seizure that woke me up. Yeah, like his head going first, then his legs are going. Eventually I thought like, oh, I should get my phone out and actually like time this. By the time I started timing, you know, probably at least 30 seconds had gone by, if not longer. This was like a 2-minute long seizure, which I think the first one was more like 30 seconds. He did lose bladder continence during this one, just like tons of foaming and everything like that. So this one lasted like a really long time. And then we came to, it took him much longer to like snap out of it. And then he lost like sensation, or he couldn't move. He had weakness on the left side. And he ended, like, he tried to get up and he like fell off the bed, and then he's just like laying there on the ground, and scary. So, and then the whole time I'm like waiting for this dog to turn into Cujo, because that's what happened the last time. And sure enough, we get to the point where once he comes to like enough, the doctor explained it like, it's like his brain had a hard reboot, and like all systems are, you know, coming on one at a time, and he's freaked out about it. And so his like fear response is to be aggressive, basically. And so he started growling first. I think he started growling first. I was like, okay, that's my cue to leave. Go leave him in the bedroom. I just heard his collar moving. I brought some water in for him. While he was still kind of coming to, I brought some water in, because just panting so bad and foaming at the mouth and everything. So I just went in a second ago, and he's like moving around, so like neurologically like better. And I was like, okay, is he normal? Like his pupils are gigantic, so he doesn't look normal in that, but he's just kind of like walking around. And then I kind of like put my hand out, and then he started growling. So I was like, real quick, close the door. So he needs his space. What this means in terms of like the future is the vet said that if he has more than one seizure in a month, he needs to go on seizure meds. You know, we could send him to like a neurologist, a specialist, that kind of thing, which I can just only imagine the money that would take. And so I think the first step is to just get him onto seizure meds and see how that works, because it's frustrating not knowing the why. All of his tests came back normal, but there was no neurological testing. So he's too old for it to be epilepsy. He says he's too young for it to be a brain tumor, but I suppose like a brain tumor could happen at any point. So I don't know what other neurological reasons there would be to start having seizures if it's not one of those two. But not my favorite way to start the day, for sure. It's, you know, late enough that I'm up for the day. I have a meeting at 6 a.m. So I have like an hour and a half till I have a meeting. So I guess I'm going to continue to just monitor him and read some East of Eden. So yeah, if you know anything about dog seizures, hook a girl up with some info. All right, 1:30 on Wednesday afternoon now. So TV's okay. It was a rough morning, rough start to the day. Scratched the crap out of me, got me good on the back of my arm. I've got probably like 4 scratches on my back, my side and my back. After he goes through the like Cujo stage, he's in this like super hyper unsettled. He did this with the first seizure, but this time it was like, it was more than just hyper. It was like he had no regard for like his personal like space. He was literally doing like laps around the living room, like jumping over the side of the couch, going under the table, jumping over me, jumping on me. He knocked the lamp over twice. I spilled my coffee one time, like just all over the place. Not in an aggressive way, just like in a way that he didn't care that he was accidentally hurting me over and over and over again. And then he's just like panting so bad. So I had to text my brother-in-law, because normally I have the kids on Wednesdays, and normally they get dropped off between 6:45 and 7. And then I take the big kids to school. I'm with Charlie all day, and then pick the kids up from school, and he comes around 4 usually. And I knew that he would probably be okay eventually, but by like 6:15, he was still being wild. And so I wanted to make sure Lewis had enough time. So I was like, yeah, man, we had another seizure. He is wild right now. I sent him pictures of my scratched up self. And I'm like, yeah, it's not going to be safe for the kids to be here. Which of course he understood. And fortunately, he has a job that it's able to be flexible. And if he works from home, so he is able to handle being a dad by himself. Yeah, anyway, so I didn't end up reading because he was just so frenzied and constant that there was no way that I could try. So I was just watching YouTube and trying to protect myself. And then eventually, once he finally calmed down, I actually took a nap. Definitely had kind of like a post-adrenaline rush crash. Since 11, I've been working, so I just had 4 calls and a training client, or 3 calls and a training client, and now I'm actually off for the afternoon. No, I can't forget. I do have one more call today. I need to not forget that one call. But I'm headed right now to the chiropractor. My back is improving. It's quite a bit better. It's just still very much there. And then now I'm feeling it in my neck too. So like even driving, like changing lanes, turning my head to change lanes, I feel it in my neck and I feel it all the way down my back. So I'm going to go see the chiropractor, and then I'm trying to finish The Beak of the Finch this afternoon on audiobook, which I think I'm going to manage to do as long as I make it a focus, because my book club is tonight. Now I do know that I think most of the girls didn't end up reading it. The gal who even picked the book isn't even going to be there. Personal situation going on. So I think in general the idea is we're gonna have a more generalized conversation about evolution rather than specifically talking about the book The Beak of the Finch, which is about, it kind of takes off from Darwin's Origin of the Species and looks into deeper matters and other researchers who have built on his work essentially. It's really interesting. I mean, I'm finding it really interesting, like natural selection and sexual selection and the different processes that we can see that are happening, and how natural selection happens over the course of a generation, where evolution happens across generations. I'm finding it really interesting. So I don't know what the ladies are talking about who aren't enjoying it. I could see maybe if you were reading the physical book, which I did. I started with the physical book and I only switched to the audiobook just for time's sake. Some of it does get really nitty gritty as far as talking about like the actual dimensions of of a bird's beak, and the width and depth and that kind of thing, like literally to 9.7 millimeters versus 10.3 millimeters or whatever, which makes a really big difference in the beak of the finch. But anyhow, that's what's up right now. So yeah, I'm just gonna go take care of myself. Got one more client, and then hopefully I can finish Beak of the Finch today. All right, later on Wednesday, I have a bit of a haul for you. I have a library haul and a book club, Pickens Club. So we're gonna do a chocolate fountain thing tonight. So we're supposed to pick up a couple things. And so I got some fresh pineapple and some pretzel chips, okay, to go for the chocolate fountain to share. And then also we always drink wine, so I picked up a bottle of Hess Select Cab. I don't know a ton about wine, but I remember Hess Select being a good wine from when I worked at the country club, so I figured that was a good one to go with. Also, I always feel like pressure when I'm buying wine that other people, particularly, like we've got some like real winos in the group, so it always makes me a little bit nervous. So I definitely went for a more expensive wine than I would normally buy. I normally buy like $9 Bogle, and that's fine with me. You know, it's not $2 Chuck. It's good, but it's still cost effective. That was at least on sale, but it is a more expensive wine. So from the library, I went to the Granite Bay Library because I was over there. So I picked up Fire Rush by Jacqueline Crooks. This is shortlisted for the Women's Prize. This is, I believe this is about or takes place during the Windrush generation, which I don't really know what that is. I just know that it's a thing, and I came to know that it was a thing from Bernadine Evaristo's Girl, Woman, Other, and there's a Placer County Library sticker over it, but Bernadine Evaristo has a blurb on here, a stunningly original novel. So I got that. For mental health May, I got Cracked, Not Broken. I love this cover with the Golden Gate Bridge. I've got, let's see, let me show you. The Golden Gate Bridge is right there. It's about 100 miles away. This is by Kevin Hines, and this is I don't know if it's a memoir, if it's his memoir, or if it's someone else telling the story. But he attempted suicide by jumping off the Golden Gate Bridge, severely injured, but survived. And so I think it's his like physical and mental survival. And then Ayobami Adebayo's A Spell of Good Things, and this takes place in Nigeria. It seems like there's a male and a female. There are male and female main characters of like different social classes, and the kind of the clash of those two. So all of these sound really good. I don't want to know when I'm going to get to reading any of these things. Like, that's what happens when I go to the library. It's like I have a TBR, I have all these books I'm supposed to read, and then I go and see shiny new things, like literally shiny things at the library, and I pick those up, and then now I just like added stress to my life. But the good news is I'm way ahead of myself on the read along for East of Eden. I didn't realize that we weren't actually starting till the 15th, and I'm like almost done with part 1. So I have like, I don't know, 20 to 40 pages left of part 1, and that's what we're supposed to read week 1. So I am over a week ahead at this point. So it gives me a little bit of breathing room. And the other thing that I would like to read, I've got my last call for the day is in 13 minutes. Last thing I want to, other thing I want to get into is Islands of Abandonment, Nature Rebounding in the Post-Human Landscape by Cal Flynn. I picked this up on my trip to Marin a couple weekends ago. And this is instances of areas where humans had been inhabiting are gone for some reason, and then nature has taken over that space again. And it's just kind of like vignettes, like incidences of this happening. And I'm about 25 pages into this. So I think I'm going to read this up until the time that I have my call at 4:30. And then I'm just going to put my shoes back on and head to book club. So I'll probably check in with you later in the week. So it's Wednesday night. I am making my bed because I had to wash my bedding because somebody lost his bladder when he had his seizure this morning. So the comforter is not all the way dry, so I'm just gonna have clean sheets and a blanket on me tonight. But anyway, just got back from book club, and we had nonfiction book club, and we had just such a great discussion. So the book that we read, that some of us actually read, many of our book club members only read the last couple chapters because that was somebody told them just read the last 2 chapters, whatever. The Beak of the Finch by Jonathan Weiner. It was really an exploration in natural selection and evolution, and kind of people who have followed in Darwin's footsteps and taken his work even further. But it led to just a really interesting discussion about evolution in general and humans' impact on the earth and our health, like all sorts of different things. And then we ended up discussing ultimately a conversation that had started last month when we discussed Lady Parts by Deborah something with a CH. And that really got us discussing advocacy for women's health, and just how little funding there is and how little information there is about women's health. And like a lot of times research is done on men, and like that, what's it called? Not cystic fibrosis, not ovarian cysts. Oh, I can't think of it. There's a very common women's condition that happens that's like almost not funded at all, and it affects tons and tons of women, and I can't think of what it's called. Tell me if you know what I'm talking about. But anyway, We basically decided, like, what if we actually took some sort of action and kind of like put our collective, you know, minds, you know, was it talent, time, and treasure together in order to make some sort of impact in the world on women and women's health. And so that discussion continued tonight, and we've come up with like a committee. There's going to be like a naming committee, and then like there's going to be like a who we are and a what we are kind of committee. And it's actually, we're going to do something, not just talk about stuff, but we're going to actually, the idea is kind of, could we look at what is legislature that is coming through the California legislature that we could affect change, speak for or against, or just be more, just be involved in the process, be a voice and an advocate for women and for women's health, whatever that might mean. So yeah, it's really cool. So the next book, I think I told you before, Man's Search for Meaning, is I got to choose. So I hope that goes over well, and I got to kind of give a summary and an update on what's going on with my book and get their support. A few of the women didn't know about it, and so it was neat to be able to share that and my story with them, and because it very much is in line with Viktor Frankl's Man's Search for Meaning, and essentially the idea that pain is inevitable but suffering is a choice is a similar, the similar theme between my memoir and Viktor Frankl's. If I was to compare myself at all to Viktor Frankl, I do quote him in the book. So anyhow, I'm going to get finish making the bed, and then probably honestly watch some booktube. I saw Doris has a new video up, so I will watch what Doris eats in a week, and hopefully be able to settle down and get to sleep, because I have an early morning tomorrow, 6 a.m. meeting, and a full day ahead. Good night. Midday on Friday, or no, Thursday, I'm reading Islands of Abandonment while I have some time. And he's talking about wastelands, and what used to be considered a wasteland would be like a marshy, swampy area, an area that's going to make it difficult for travel, an area that's going to be, you're not going to be able to farm. And now we would see that area as like an invaluable ecosystem with species that maybe don't live anywhere else but there, in areas we particularly want to protect. And so he says, the lesson in this, I think, is that what we feel like self-evident truths about the world around us can in fact be culturally specific, moral judgments we are imposing upon the world around us. If we want to do the best for the environment, what we need is a new way of seeing, a new way of looking at the land. And so I think that's really what he's going to be going more into, is really seeing the earth in a different way, rather than seeing the earth more for what it is and what it could be or what it used to be, rather than what we can do with it. Well, we just had an earthquake. I heard like just like a house settling kind of sound, and then felt like a little back and forth kind of shake. I looked up, the lamp was moving, the light over there was shaking. So yeah, we just had an earthquake. I don't know how big it was or how far away it was, but just a little shimmy shake here. So it was a 5.7 magnitude, about 3 hours north of here, and a lot of people around here felt it. Have you ever felt an earthquake before? And where were you when you felt it? I've probably felt maybe 5 or so, including the big one in 1989.